Hello and welcome back to World Traveler Cooking, the show where we cover interesting cuisines and interesting foods from around the world. Today we're going to make a Lithuanian farmer's cheese with caraway seeds in this. This is a pretty typical sort of Lithuanian summer dish. Around Christmas time, I think you could put poppy seeds in it instead. Apparently some people also add dried fruit to give it a little more sweetness, but we're going to do the traditional one today. Our ingredients are really simple, and this is a simple cheese. I have 4 liters of milk. I'm using a fresh from the farm raw milk. Please note, raw milk does carry some extra risks of handling, so especially if you leave it in your refrigerator for a significant period of time. So if you're going to use it, make sure you get it as quickly as possible, just simply because that's important for safety. But since we're working on an acid set cheese today, pasteurized milk works just as well. You can use it. I'm just using this because it was cheap and easy for me to get in bulk. I have 200 grams, basically a small tub of sour cream. I have 45 grams, or 3 tablespoons, of vinegar, 5% acidity, in this case apple cider vinegar. I think that's the most traditional, but you could probably use any other vinegar. It shouldn't affect things too much. And about a tablespoon of caraway seeds. So that's it. Basic process for any acid set milk is to bring the milk up to boiling temperature and then add it. Oh yeah, and I forgot one other ingredient. I have 1 egg, which apparently I didn't bring out. So, basic process is we bring the milk up to boiling temperature. This is why pasteurization is irrelevant. And then we will add in our other ingredients. And then, except for our caraway, we'll let things curdle. Once it's curdling, we'll add our caraway, then we'll strain the curd, then we'll form and press it. The whole process takes a bit over 24 hours, so plan to make this the day before you want to eat it. We will, for example, do the taste test tomorrow. Let's get started. So, while we're waiting for that, we're going to just beat our egg and sour cream together. And we want this perfectly well incorporated, so you could use a whisk in a larger bowl. I figure why dirty the extra dish? So I'm just going to beat this until everything's perfectly incorporated. And then as the milk nears boiling point, we will stir this in. Once I have 1 egg mixed in, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. I just do that because it's easier. And I'm going to add my other 2 eggs, and I will beat them in. And again, you could use a whisk for this. Again, that would require a larger bowl, so I'm just going to mix everything in the smaller bowl. With a fork, it's easier to do a fork, and well, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. I'll be back once we add this in. So while everything is still heating up, I'm going to add all of this mixture, and I'm going to stir this well. Whisk it well with a whisk so that everything is well incorporated. And then once things boil, I will add my vinegar. And now it's just starting to boil, so we can even see it starting to curdle, which is good. We're going to add our vinegar to just help that along a little bit. Just stir that in. You'll feel it thicken up right away. And right away you can see so I'm going to take it off the heat, and we're just going to wait for a little bit. Wow, look at how quickly that's separating. So now that that's separating well, I'm going to wait just a little longer until I can see the curd starting to sink, and then we will add our caraway seeds. Now, most of the time I would prefer to put this into a colander lined with cheesecloth, but my cheesecloth has disappeared at the moment. So I'm going to show you how to work with any other piece of cloth that might not be porous enough to line your colander with it. The curds are actually going to be solid enough that you can probably, in most cases, just put them in the colander itself to drain into a bowl or something. And we're going to let these drain for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to turn it out into a piece of cloth that then I will use to shape the cheese and press it. So once the curd is drained for a couple minutes, I'm just going to turn it out onto a nice clean square cloth. And I'm going to now start compressing and folding. Perhaps you can even knead the cheese a little bit. There's some liquid that's going to come out, so I'm going to move this over to the sink. But once that's done, we'll press it. By the way, this is a really good use for any cutting boards that you have that are warped a little bit. The wooden cutting boards. You want to put this on the concave side, concave side, the side where it's bowing upward on the edges. And that's going to do two things. First of all, it's going to channel the water or the way where you want it to go. And secondly, just as importantly, it's going to add moisture onto the side of the board that's not as long, that's dried out maybe more, and that may even straighten the board. So now I'm done, I think, forming, and I am going to press. So now that this was pressed for 8 hours and refrigerated overnight, you can see it cuts pretty well. So I'm just going to take a couple slices off for a taste test. And now for the taste test. So the first thing that strikes me here is the texture. Most acid set cheeses are extremely spongy. You can think of paneer. This is still a little spongy, but not very. It doesn't have the texture that like a rennet set cheese has. You can definitely tell that it was acid set in terms of its texture. But the texture is much more mild and much more smooth than I would typically expect. The caraway flavors are nice. They're not overstated. They're just there. Very, very pleasant. Now, if you find this content interesting, you'd like to see more of it, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything to say about this video, please let me know in the comments. Recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.